Penny and Sparrow, Andy and Kyle, welcome to eTown. You guys sound great. Glad you made it.
Thanks.
Glad
Thanks so much.
this visit could happen. I get the feeling listening to your songs that I should pay attention.
No,
that there's some craftsmanship, and that this is all part of a thing. And I don't know whether it's just because it's so sparse and you leave a little room for us to kind of dive in, or whether it's just an insidious plot of some kind.
It's the latter.
It's the latter,
for sure. Next question. I mean, you nailed it.
Yeah.
I guess we don't have anything else to talk about.
Yeah.
So you both went to University of Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and how did you were roommates, or after school you were roommates, right? How did that work out?
It was after undergrad, and I think you were just finishing up, yeah.
I took a little longer to finish undergraduate program than other people normally take. It's about a 5.5-year plan. But that's when I met Kyle, around that time.
And then, and when you became roommates, how long did it take you to figure out that you could make music together and sing and stuff like that? Was that an obvious connection?
Yeah, I had to teach Andy a little how to sing first, and then pretty soon after that, it just kind of fell into place. Yeah. To be honest, I was learning guitar at the time, and Andy's always had an angelic, lovely voice. Yeah. Yes, he needs this. Applaud for him, please.
I'm just so insecure. This is food. Thank you so much. We would cover. We lived in a house of 11 guys, and it was not a frat house,
5-bedroom house,
but it felt like one. And so we would cover a bunch of songs for our roommates. They would basically request some Texas country song or a Ryan Adams song, and we would learn it. And we had a lot of fun playing music together. And so for Christmas, to blow off steam, or to help him do that, his parents bought him this little recording rig that plugged into his MacBook. And we were like, hey, what the hell? Why don't we try and actually write songs of our own and see what happens? And that was what became our first EP with 3 songs on it called Creature.
Yeah. Did you have the same sort of graphic sensibility that Sarah Watkins did about songwriting process, or how did you come to it? Was it
there's less vomit in our in the actual process. There's plenty of vomit, but in the metaphor that we prefer to use, it's more akin to some songs take a long time and some take 12 minutes, and some go through like a Leonard Cohen amount of rewrites with 40 verses, most of which don't make it, and the entirety of some songs are literally on the back porch of the home that we used to share, and it was 7 minutes long, and that's how long it took to get every single piece of rattle. And so it's weird to know that I have no formula, I have no ability.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's when it's right. And do you have similar interests in terms of books you read and things like that? I mean, when you approach language, and you both have to agree, basically, okay, the song is done. Yeah. Do you have similar tastes in authors, for example?
I think we have similar tastes.
Yeah.
We're Steinbeck fans.
Yeah, on the majors, we would agree. Yeah. On the Bradburys of the world, the Steinbecks. And then, the roads diverge. And
he's a graphic novel guy. I am not. Not to say that graphic novels are bad. I'm sure they're amazing. they don't do it for me. And
it's the Pokemon Go of literature, basically.
Yeah, it sure is. Some people are into it.
I'm going to work really hard to pretend I didn't hear that. I want you to know that that's pretty heavy-handed and unnecessary. No offense to the trainers of the Pokemon world, but it's apples and oranges, friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'll wait to be educated. How about that? I'll wait in both cases because I know nothing about either genre.
Yeah.
So, and then what was the deal with naming your duo after sports teams? That was just like, hey, this will be exciting.
Yeah. So we with the 11 roommates that we had, they would do random events. We had just our community of friends in Austin would ask us, needed someone to fill the time of like a fundraiser, and we were the cheap. Free option at the time, and so we were asked to do a lot of events, but it was before we had a song written or anything, and so they're like, all right, just come up with a band name and then you'll play all your songs, your cover songs. And so we're like, okay, well, we don't have a band name because we're not a band, we cover songs, so we're gonna be the Utah Jazz. Thank you so much. And so we would show up on stage and just be like, hello, we're the Utah Jazz, or we are the Dallas Cowboys, just random teams. And we thought it was hilarious. Now that I'm talking about it, it's not so funny.
No, but keep going. Let's see what happens.
So other teams.
Well, everybody has to start somewhere, and what was interesting is that you happened on a name and a it's almost like taking inventory of skill sets and finding out what you can bring to the party, and you both found this really great dynamic partnership. I'm interested into how you found your way to John Paul White, for example, and Florence, Alabama. How did that come about?
We were touring with a band that we love very much. It's a husband and a wife duo called Grace and Tony. And if they were here right now, they would stand by my assessment of their body of work being almost entirely comprised of horror movie-inspired folk duos.
It's amazing.
It's unbelievable. Like more than one song about Salem's Lot. I can't even tell you how cool this band is. And we were totally infatuated by how kind they were and how great they were. And so we go on tour with them when we're just doing this for fun. We were not under any delusion that we were going to make it or be full-time musicians. We were like, what the hell, let's try and tour a little bit. That sounds like a blast. So we go on this tour, and we go to near his hometown in Florence, Alabama, and he goes, oh, by the way, my big brother will be there tonight. We're like, cool, sounds great. Well, his name's Tony White, and so John Paul White strolls into the green room after we're done with the show, and he's like, I'm actually going to impersonate him now, so if he ever watches this, it'll be great. He goes, you fellas did good. Sure liked it. Sure would like to work with you. Sure would like that. John Paul White, good to meet you. And honestly, I think that I can speak for us. We both just thought he was being sweet after the show. And I was like, oh, thank you, Mr. White. So good to meet you. And then we got an email like 2 weeks later and a phone call that said, come down to Florence, right at this lake house with me. And that became the record we just released in March called Let a Lover Drown You. And we went back to the Shoals, recorded with him, and we stayed there because we loved it so much.
You stayed in Florence, Alabama.
We stayed there.
Yeah. We moved there.
We moved there to record, and then we just didn't move back.
Wow.
It's a good place.
You guys must not have accumulated a lot of stuff yet at this stage in your life.
No,
Not a lot.
We were gypsying our way around the lower 48 at that time. So.
Wow. So Florence, Alabama is your new hometown. Mm-hmm. And what is the town like? And what's the vibe there for people who play music like you?
Yeah, it is a great vibe.
Yeah.
My man. It is.
Y'all are so cordial. This is good.
It's really small, so but the music community is really rich. I feel like I'm new there, so I can't really say it with. I feel like you should ask somebody who's been there for years, but it feels really alive right now in Muscle Shoals, Florence area. A lot of good music is coming out of there, and it's all very supportive, which is just kind of abnormal. Sometimes different places you go, there's this weird sense of competition.
Well, I mean, Austin is legendary for, it's known for its music scene, but it's also a very tough place to make a living as a musician because there's so many musicians and so many bands and limited number of outlets and places to play.
Right.
And maybe there is therefore a little competition around in that community, but
I feel like it's tough because in bigger cities, and we lived in Austin for 9 years, and so we speak about it with affection, but also with a certain degree of nerves because there's a certain twinge that goes off like a tuning fork in the back of your mind when you meet somebody in the music industry in a heavily populated, dense music city where it almost feels inadvertently quid pro quo when you don't want it to be. You'd rather start out on this foundation of, hi, I'm Andy. My wife's name is Sarah. We like Netflix, and I'm into fantasy novels. What are you all about? Instead of being like, oh, you mix records? Oh, you play slide guitar? That's cool. Let me store that in my billfold of future use. And we don't want to operate like that.
Yeah.
I'd very much like to live my life in a way that I'm the same person here that I am if I'm talking to somebody out there or I'm alone with my wife or alone with Kyle. I would desperately like to grip onto authenticity as hard as I can. And so this city tends to champion that over champion using each other for individual gain. And I love that about Florence. We have quickly fallen in love with that
cool.
city because of the way people treat each other. If we never got to do music again and we got vocal nodes and we had to say screw it and we had to go back to being kelp farmers, then I would stay in Florence because of the relationships that I'd made.
Yeah. Well, that's great that you found a new community, and it's also I love the fact that you can aim. I don't know if it's a Southern thing where it's just sort of taking people at there's not a lot of. It's not that there's no ambition, but things are slower. There's a slower pace.
Truly.
So it's a little easier to maybe just meet someone in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, I'm just gonna, we have a lot more music to get to. Your songs seem to be a lot about past relationships and revisiting them, which can be dangerous.
Super fun.
Again, non-emotionally invasive is what we're going for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that was an intentional theme? That was just the way these songs came together?
I think so. I think romance is universal. I think love in and of itself is universal, whether it be platonic or otherwise. And we sing a ton about hope deferred because I think, yet again, that's a universal ideal, very sadly. On this side of the left half of your timeline, a lot of hope gets deferred, and we have to deal with that. And to sing about that is honest and beautiful. And we set out to make music that we felt was, again, integrity-filled, that we weren't going to scuff the edges around things that were difficult to say. We wanted to say hard things in a beautiful way, such as examining old lovers and realizing the hellacious stuff that you put yourself through and the great love that you are, in my mind, not only worthy of, but is at your fingertips if you would but look. And so I want to sing about the duality of that and how we as humans are unmeaning, but we're pretty sadistic and masochistic. And again, as you can tell, we're happy guys. We don't sing about really negative stuff all the time, but we desperately want to be honest because that has so much value.
Well, hope deferred can also be a synonym for pretty depressing songs.
Yeah.
We figured
Sure
that
can.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is this optimism. There is a kind of, listening to your record, listening to your songs, there's a connection, and I think we all want that more than anything. We all want the connection. So you're onto it. You're onto it. You guys are doing it. No, it feels really good. I know we don't have time to get into the real meaning of how Les Mis affects the mythology of your band and the deep and powerful influence that's had on your careers.
Yeah.
What is Les Mis? Okay.
We'll save that for next time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Meanwhile, let it be known that the title of your record is Hope Deferred, is connected to that.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
Love in our mind that's worth a damn is worth the individual deaths you have to die during the day. You murder your preference all the time if you're going to love somebody. You're constantly going to murder your preference because they're not always going to want to do what you want to do, and vice versa. And because we didn't marry Stepford wives, we learned that very quickly. And singing about that, and it's not just in marriage or in romance, it's with friends. Yeah. There's great value in not always getting what you want. And that's a little death in a way. And so singing about that seems like a worthwhile thing to do with your life. And so we're going to keep doing that for a while.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Yeah. Nailed it. We're going to get back to music. Welcome back, Penny and Sparrow.
Thanks, guys.